Happy lunch hour, gang. Okay, so it gets more and more ridiculous how obvious the cheat is going to be, or at least attempted to be, in November. And it's just important that people know this stuff. I mean, this is why I talk about this crap all the time, because a lot of this stuff gets scrubbed from the mainstream media that most people watch, and if they don't know, then you end up uninformed. And, you know, again, one of my core beliefs in prepping is you got to know what's going on in order to prep appropriately. So politics comes into play a lot with that, and we know that 2020 was completely crooked. And so we've got to watch for 2024 to avoid the same mistakes. So we've already talked about some of these goofy things that states have done. We all know that the Democrats don't want proof of citizenship to vote. We know the whole deal with Dominion voting machines, flipping states, not counting ballots, switching votes. I mean, we saw the proof of it. Arizona and Georgia have both come out in the last 2 weeks and said they got 2020 wrong. So, you know, it's a little late now. It's not like we can go back and say, well, gee, Joe, you didn't win, so we're going to take out your presidency and put Trump in. Though the Democrats would probably love that now, because they could go, well, look, now your second term is over. But we have 2024 coming up. Now, on Friday, RFK endorsed Donald Trump. Monday, Tulsi Gabbard endorsed Donald Trump. Now, Tulsi Gabbard's immaterial to this whole deal. But RFK is something that is important. And depending on who you've looked at, what you've paid attention to, there's conflicting reports out there that with Kennedy being on the ballot, he was taking votes away from Harris, or he was taking votes away from Trump. Now, obviously, there's going to be Kennedy supporters that will go both ways. Some will support Harris, some will support Trump. But overwhelmingly, you saw that more Kennedy voters would support Trump than would support Harris. And this is where it gets to be sticky, because you've got a contingency out there of Kennedy supporters who are urging their people, if you will, to still vote for Kennedy. And this deal that as long as he gets 5% of the vote, he would be, you know, then they would be a legitimate third party. Tell that to Ross Perot, okay? Tell me what happened in 1996, okay? It doesn't matter. Sure, anybody can create a political party. It's granted takes millions upon millions of dollars. But, so here's where it gets crooked. Now, when Kennedy dropped out of the race on Friday, common sense would tell you his name gets taken off the ballot. He's no longer there. But we all remember what happened in primaries, okay? Even after, we'll just use the one, Nikki Haley dropped out. Even on the August 1st primary here in Tennessee, Nikki Haley's name was still on the ballot. Okay. And not that it mattered, Trump had already secured the nomination, wasn't a big deal. Well, what you've got going on now is some states refusing to remove Kennedy's name from the ballot, even though he specifically, RFK, has asked for his name to be taken off the ballot. Now, some states have agreed. I mean, Nevada did, Pennsylvania did, Ohio did, Texas did, okay? But then you get the states that are refusing to remove him from the ballot. Wisconsin, Michigan, those are a couple of swing states. That's kind of interesting. But Michigan is the most interesting one of them all, because Cornel West, you know who he is still running, okay? Michigan refuses to put him on the ballot, while at this, and is fighting it in court to keep him off the ballot, while at the same time refusing to take RFK off the ballot, trying to use the same logic. Yeah, I'm going to tell you flat out what the logic is. It's too late to reprint all those pre-filled out Kamala Harris votes on fake ballots. That's what's going on. They are doing whatever they can. The Michigan Secretary of State's office is doing whatever they can to fix the election in Michigan. If you live up in Michigan, you guys need to raise hell. All right? Because one of two things has to happen. If you're going to keep Cornel West's name off the ballot, you need to take RFK's name off the ballot. I mean, RFK's not running and Cornel West is. On the other hand, if you're going to keep Kennedy on the ballot, even though he's not running, you certainly should put somebody's name on who is running. But no. Why? Because Cornel West will take votes away from Kamala Harris because he's further left than Harris is, okay? And RFK is taking votes from Trump. Michigan wants to make sure that none of the Kamala Harris votes are taken, but as many of the Trump votes are taken. That's election interference. That's a federal crime, okay? So the only logical answer is that they're trying to cheat. I mean, they're blatantly cheating as is right now by doing this. But then, again, putting puzzle pieces together, they don't want to have to reprint a whole bunch of ballots that already have Harris's name, Trump's name, and Kennedy's name on that are all pre-filled out with Harris checked. Because, oh my God, if they put Cornel West's name on it, all those pre-printed ballots are a waste of time. If they take RFK's ballots off, all those ballots are a waste of time. Because there's no way they can, when they get audited, when a poll watcher's going, oh, what's the deal with that ballot? You know, RFK, why is RFK's name on there when he's not on the ballot? Oh, well, that's one of our fraudulent ones, but we're counting it anyway. That's what's going on. The media won't figure this out. I mean, which tells you how incompetent our media is. That they will not look into this. They will not investigate this. They will not report this. They were all over the place yesterday about Jack Smith and filing new charges against Donald Trump because God knows that fits their narrative. So they can try to cheat that way with their lawfare. But the American public needs to wake up and see what's going on. That the Democrat Party knows they cannot win elections with their platforms, their socialism, their communism. And so the only way they can do it is how every other communist, fascist, totalitarian regime in history has ever done it. They cheat. They can say whatever they want about all of us being conspiracy theorists back in 2020. And it's funny how the more facts come out, the more all of us were proven right, and the lies from the media were proven wrong. Again, and I'll just mention it, Georgia and Arizona saying that they certified incorrect ballots. Mark Zuckerberg coming out the other day and saying the Biden-Harris administration strong-armed them into keeping the Hunter Biden laptop story off. And I want you to understand something here. When the Biden-Harris campaign did that in 2020, they were a campaign. That wasn't an order by the government. That was an order by a campaign to do that. As much as they're trying to say, well, Joe was the vice president or whatever, and that doesn't fly because he wasn't, okay? They were candidates. They had nothing to do in politics at that point. Kamala Harris was a senator, a junior senator. Yippee, okay? Not like she carried a big stick, wielded a big sword to make these sorts of demands. This is the cheating that is going on. This is what is coming. And people ask me, and again last night, what's going to happen? If the Democrats can't cheat well enough in November to pull off a victory, burn, loot, and murder will take effect. And this is what I've said many times. You better be prepared to be Kyle Rittenhouse. Okay? If the Democrats do cheat enough that somehow Kamala Harris miraculously at 2 o'clock in the morning is announced the winner, there's going to be hell to pay in the morning. I say this over and over and over again. It doesn't matter what happens on November 5th. November 6th is going to be ugly. Depending on where you are, some people are in safer places, some people are in more volatile areas. You need to be ready because, and I'm not saying necessarily sitting on the porch with the shotgun, but I'm saying ready for potentially martial law, potentially police lockdowns, all sorts of stuff. And as I've said many times, you need to prep like you can never leave your property again, because that may happen. It may only be for a couple of months, but between November 5th and January 21st, it's 2.5 months. You may have a minimum of that where you can't go anywhere. What are they going to do? Let me ask you this. What are the Democrats going to do in those 2.5 months while they're still in office, knowing they lost? And everybody says, oh, the transition team is going to make it as impossible for Trump to, undermine Joe's policies or whatever in those 2.5 months. Okay? What do you think they're going to do to the public as revenge? Do not put it past them. I've told you before about the Rothschilds coming out and saying that if Trump is elected, globalism is dead. They are not going to give up on this. This has been a plan they've been working on for 30 plus years. Trump threw a monkey wrench in it in 2016. And then in order to get their plan back on, they had to cheat in 2020. Don't kid yourself for 1 second that thinks that they won't do whatever it takes to make you bend a knee and say, okay. And whether that's shutting off the power, shutting off the internet, turning off the water, imposing massive taxes at the last minute. Again, remember, every year in December, Congress has to put all sorts of fixes into the tax code to make sure AMT is a good one, to make sure that Joe Average, Joe Middle Class doesn't get stuck paying astronomical taxes that were once meant for the rich only, okay? Do you honestly think that the Biden administration is going to go, well, gee, we just lost our ass in this election, and you know what? Screw the American people. We're going to punish them. We're just going to make sure they pay a bunch of taxes. And then we'll blame it on Trump because it will be April 15th of Trump's term, 3 months into his term, when they have to write that check. Do not for a second think they won't cheat their way as strong as they can, hoping that they'll get caught too late. Again, we've said this many times. This has always been the plan. They put something in, figure, okay, 6-9 months till it gets to the Supreme Court, but we've already got everything's in place already. Name with any bans or whatever, right? We've seen that happen many times. Well, we'll cheat the 2020 election. Okay, and by the time they finally get all the evidence and figure out what we did, the term's already over and we've already put all our nefarious plans into action. That's what's going on, guys. That's what you need to get ready for. This is why I keep saying it's not blue versus red anymore. It's America versus communism. And we are getting to the point where, as many of us have all said, you can't vote your way out of it. This is the last chance. And even if we do vote our way out of it, they're going to try a revolution. Bank on it. Pinball out.